Chase Farm, Neil McCready here with this post-game live. I say post-game, there's about 2 minutes left right now. Alabama up 59-24 on Ole Miss. We'll go ahead and get started. We've got boots on the ground in Tuscaloosa as well, so we'll get video and coverage from Bryant-Denny Stadium here in a little while at rebelgrove.com. As always, let somebody tell us that you can hear us. Everything's good before we get too far into this. As we'll talk quarterbacks. We'll talk just kind of overall game here from, again, Alabama 59, Ole Miss 24 here at the moment. So, yeah, we're good to go. Appreciate that from everybody. Neil, I guess we'll get it started off. John Rice Plumlee, he's run for over 100 yards. He's only the second quarterback to do that against a Nick Saban Alabama team, Kyler Murray being the other one. And that part's not been a problem. We knew he was going to be athletic. We knew they were going to implement a lot of that. Frankly, I thought that it was one of those deals of Rich Rodriguez being very comfortable with that type of quarterback. However, as it moves forward, he's not going to face Alabama again, so you're not going to have that type of athletes on the other side. He's going to have to throw better, though. That's kind of part of what your column will be up at rebelgrove.com here shortly. It was kind of an expected effort, but it's an interesting thing moving forward for the Rebels.
Yeah, my column sort of says, I'll give it away here. And by the way, there's Grant Tisdale, so there's a little bit of the answer to one of our questions. My column is there's a package for Plumlee, very clearly. There might be a big package for Plumlee. There might be a lot that he can do, especially when they get close to the goal line. I love him in the red zone. But for this team to hit its ceiling offensively, he has to be able to throw the ball more effectively. I think he went 10 for 28. Is that the final number for him? And, yeah, there were a couple of drops, threw a pick there late. Did some things okay, but there's a lack of arm strength that's obvious. There's a lack of accuracy that's obvious. He missed some wide open receivers that could have been impactful early. I still think for this team to max out whatever it is, Matt Corral probably has to be your starting quarterback.
Yeah, Matt Corral in shorts, didn't dress at all. He had not taken any live reps the entire week. I know I'd heard from some different people earlier in the week that he did anticipate being back next week. Now, again, we're not reporting that. We're just talking kind of based off what we heard. But I do think that possibility exists. I don't think it's necessarily a long-term thing. And, yeah, the two things that I thought was from a throwing, passing standpoint right now, there's no doubt Matt Corral is in front of John Rice Plumlee. And two, there's no doubt John Rice Plumlee needs snaps moving forward in this offense. Both those things can be true. And that's the deal where you're probably going to see it. I mean, Plumlee has earned that type of effort to at least get on the field. He's a very, very capable runner. But, frankly, it's two things in that category. One, don't get killed. Get down a little more. He did a little better as the game went on of getting out of bounds, I thought.
Took a lot of hits.
Yeah, I think took a lot of hits. And then, too, as you mentioned earlier before we started on air, he protected the football, didn't fumble it, didn't. I mean, he carried the ball like a runner. So, with him having that type of game, that's something you probably like to see.
Yeah. Again, he does a lot of things well. His ability to get to the edge against teams like Alabama that has speed everywhere. Alabama recruits speed. There's speed at linebacker. There's speed in the secondary. He was able to beat those guys to the edge. He was able to – he rushed for more than 100 yards against Alabama. He's a weapon for this team. He's something that for Derek Mason and then every other defensive coach moving forward, you've got to study that part of the film and you've got to spend some of your precious time during the week preparing for there's a Grant Tisdale completion, first one of his career. You have to spend some time preparing for Plumlee. But on the flip side, if he's the only quarterback, certain degree of Alabama spent the week probably sort of preparing for both. They only had 7 throws of Plumlee's to look at on film. They didn't, know every limitation that he had or didn't have. That's a hell of a throw right there. I got some questions that are coming up in my mind as I watch this, but
go ahead.
Why did he not play more?
I really thought it was going to be more of a half and half thing. Like we said, we talked about this all week. We talked about this last week after the game against Cal. Is that Tisdale? He obviously was here. He was here. Jackson. So
Jaron Jackson.
So he obviously was here in the spring. He had a little more ability than Plumlee as far as learning the playbook, and that was part of why he was the number 2 quarterback coming out of camp. But he was the number 2 quarterback coming out of camp, and that's what I found weird about this entire last week, these last 8 days or whatever it is, 7 days, because Rich Rodriguez said, well, he came in because of the play call on that 3rd and 10 and the draw against Cal. but then you're automatically the starter. You're automatically the one guy. And this isn't a shot at John Rice Plumlee. It's just Grant Tisdale has been very, very good every time everybody's seen him. That was a hell of a throw there.
I'm not taking a shot at Plumlee either, but Tisdale just made 2 throws that Plumlee can't make. Now, it's 2 throws, and it's a really small sample size, but I do know what my eyes just showed me. By the way, if you had Ole Miss and the points, congrats. You just won. That's it's an odd finish.
It's a finish that's going to lead to storylines over the next 2 days and nothing else. That's for sure. Because I mean, if he never gets in the game, it's certainly a storyline. But now you have he didn't get in the game storyline and that storyline. So that's what's something is you're kind of seeing us react to this and trying to make it go through our head a little bit as well.
Well, people have asked us why did everyone continue to say that Tisdale was the backup? It's because we were told consistently that Tisdale was the backup. And in fact, when Plumlee got hurt the other day, the guy that ran and picked up a ball was not when Plumlee got hurt, when Corral got hurt, the guy that ran and picked up a ball was Tisdale. It's interesting. I don't know. Listen, I think Corral's going to play next week. I think Corral's going to start. I think there's a package for Plumlee. And if you're Grant Tisdale, he's the one quite frankly, right now, I'd love to talk to all 3 quarterbacks. I'd love to talk to him and find out his happiness level.
So taking out quarterbacks, what do you think you kind of saw today? Obviously, Ole Miss defensively did not tackle very well. That's typically what happens against Alabama. There is some of that at least.
Yeah, sure.
They played the best offense they're going to play, depending on how you want to factor in LSU at this point. Tua exploded. Dante Smith exploded, set an Alabama record. I mean, the secondary continues to be a problem, even with the talent on the other side of the field. And frankly, other than the quarterbacks, that's going to be the storyline next week is, yeah, sure, Tua Tagovailoa was able to do it, but what's the Vanderbilt kid going to be able to do? Can he make it look like Chase Garbers? Can he make it look like, Brady Davis, Brady West, some of these other guys too as well? So what happens there? Because if they can't guard any better down the field, whomever the quarterback is, it's going to have to be a track meet to win the football game.
Yeah, that's what I want to see. You knew going against Alabama with Tua Tagovailoa, you knew with that receiving core, with Najee Harris, with the young back that played a lot today that was, I'm sure, a 17-star recruit coming out of high school, you knew that their weapons would expose Ole Miss's secondary. You knew that tackling would fall apart as the game went on. It was very, very hot there today. All of those things, you knew those things would happen. I'm fascinated moving forward. This game went about the way I kind of thought it would go. It was a lot closer than I thought it would be. Ole Miss played better on offense than I thought they probably would overall. But I figured that Alabama would be able to take advantage of Ole Miss's weakness in the secondary. Now, here's the question. Riley Neal is not Tua Tagovailoa, as you just referenced. This Vanderbilt game's really big, Chase. It's really big. We're going to talk about it for 7 days. It is super big. It's watched Ole Miss on film now for 5. You are testing them vertically all day. And I'm sure that they will. They don't have the weapons that Alabama has. That's the understatement of all time. But I'm doing it because Memphis didn't do it. They didn't have the quarterback to do it. Everybody else who's had a quarterback who can throw down the field has had success against the secondary.
The Vaughn kid at Vanderbilt is pretty good as far as a running back. They've got some weapons. If you're Mike McIntyre, if you're Ole Miss, do you have to get more help in the secondary? Do you have to stop putting them on islands quite so much? Because some of this, look, secondary has not played well, don't get me wrong. But a lot of this is they are so determined to stop the run, and they've done a pretty good job of it for the most part, that they're putting the secondary in some adverse positions. Do you have to back off that a little bit moving forward?
I'm making some personnel changes. I'm going with more of Finley. I'm going with more of
Prince. Started
Prince.
Today.
Yeah, I'm getting those guys in there. I don't want to pick on individual guys, but I mean, Alabama was targeting Jalen Julius. They were targeting Miles Hartsfield. That's what I want to see. I just, if I'm them, I'm playing kids. Here's the storyline for next week. Might as well get to it. This is still a coaching situation where the fans, just as we see on our message board all the time, they're just not in on Matt Luke. Now, a win over Vanderbilt's not going to get them in, but that's going to buy them more time. A loss to Vanderbilt, and this thing's derailed. There's a big difference between 3-3 going to Missouri and 2-4 having lost to Vanderbilt going to Missouri, where the rest of the season has a chance to be figure what train wreck, whatever word you want to use that's synonymous with that.
The secondary is what it is. I thought everywhere else, including, frankly, the offensive line, because they're playing a pretty dang good D front. I mean, in Alabama, I thought Ole Miss played its best game today. You couldn't see it from the score so much because of it being Alabama and being just so deficient in some of the areas where they had to be successful. But for the most part, I thought they played their best game. I thought there was some improvement in some areas versus, frankly, if they play like that the other 4 weeks, they're probably 4-0 right now, to know the truth.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I thought they took advantage of a big break early on the muff punt.
Mm-hmm.
Got it, scored, 7-7, boom, make a stop, get a field goal. And I think at that point you're able to tell guys, hey, we're going to play this thing. We're going to fight a little bit today. And obviously the better team won, and you knew that Alabama was going to put some drives together and some explosive plays together and that kind of thing. And that happened. But I thought so too. I thought this was their best game. You and I were sitting in here a little while ago, and I said, what would happen if I wrote a column that said, I think they improved? I think I'd get beat up, probably as much as I'm going to get beat up for the column that I just wrote. But I do think they improved. I think they're getting better. The problem they've got is it's an emotional game. It's a scoreboard business. And they haven't gotten over the hill against Memphis, against Cal. If today had happened and they had won both of those games, people right now are giddy.
You won the close games. You did what you're supposed to do. You played okay against Alabama. You move on. You stayed healthy. It appeared. You move on. You play Vanderbilt, and you go from there. And New Mexico State's still on the schedule, so you got another win. A&M looked very vulnerable today.
Well, absolutely right. Exactly where I was going. As it is, that's why I think we get back to how critical Vanderbilt is.
Yeah.
If you beat Vanderbilt, you're 3-3. Now getting to 6 is a hell of a climb because you're not winning at Auburn realistically, and you're not beating LSU realistically. So you got to go 3-1 in the other 4 to get there. You're going to beat New Mexico State, so you got to go 2-1 in the other 3, being Missouri, Texas A&M, and Mississippi State. Winning at Missouri is going to be tough. But A&M looked pretty mortal today. I mean, you can't be consistent and say Arkansas sucks, and then say, well, Vanderbilt, A&M's great. Now, give Arkansas credit. I watched a lot of that game today. I thought they had a good plan. I thought they stuck to the plan. I thought they played super hard. But A&M's limited. Ole Miss will have a shot at home against A&M. But they got to beat Vanderbilt to ensure that there's any atmosphere at all. We had a question a minute ago. Guess the crowd for Saturday night. I'm going to guess upper 30s. That's my guess. That's a safe guess. It's a night game. The weather should be okay. I'll guess upper 30s. And if they win that game, when A&M comes to town later in the month, I think there's a chance that you have a better crowd than that. If you lose that game, I think the attendance, fan buy-in, all of that stuff just falls off a cliff. And I don't think there's any getting it back this season, which leads into that end of season discussion that, quite frankly, I'm just not really ready to have yet because it's so premature.
You think 2 quarterbacks play against Vanderbilt next week as we get close to closing? Corral and Plumlee?
I think Plumlee plays. I think Corral plays. If Corral's healthy, he plays. Right now, he's a more versatile quarterback. Corral's a good runner, too. And he's not the runner Plumlee is, but he's a good runner. He's been effective with his feet. But he's a better thrower. He's a more versatile thrower. He spreads the ball around better. And I'm really interested to hear what Matt says about why they didn't play Grant Tisdale more than they did.
And Alabama put a lot of guys in the box. They knew Plum was going to run more than they threw, and Ole Miss found a way to run the football. They ran for give or take 200 yards today. They did a lot of pretty good things, including the interior not getting manhandled. They held their own to some extent today, I thought, on the offensive line.
They did. They were okay. Yeah. They were better there. They had a little bit of a
But if you're okay against Alabama, you got a chance to be average to good against some other teams.
Here's the one thing that talking about their defense going forward that I think you're going to see, by the way, Auburn's already taken a lead over State. The one thing I think you're going to see is Mike McIntyre's been consistent. We're 5 games in now. That's not a blip. He is going to take the run away. They're going to key on, what's his name, Vaughn? Mm-hmm. They're going to key on him next week and take him away and put the ball in the hands of Riley Neal. And that's been dangerous this season, but that's been their plan because he obviously feels like if he can't stop the run, the rest of it falls apart. they don't have a chance if they can't stop the run.
Yeah, at least you have a chance for turnovers, some incompletions,
Right.
a quarterback to have a bad day, that kind of thing. So anyway, Alabama 59, Ole Miss 30. 30, yeah.
31.
31.
I don't know.
The final. Sorry, we were talking to you guys and didn't see the final. So 59-31, Ole Miss covers the game. Vanderbilt next week, 6:30 at Vaught Hemingway Stadium. We obviously have, again, plenty of coverage at RumbleGrove.com from Bryant-Denny Stadium.
To answer your question, Gerald, yes, but we've got to get some equipment. We've got to figure that out a little bit.
Couple weeks away is my guess.
Yeah, but that's absolutely.
That's the goal. That's kind of where we are.
Do.
That's probably, a couple weeks away is probably where we are from doing that. So anyway, Ole Miss falls to Alabama. We'll have plenty of coverage at RumbleGrove.com, and we'll talk to all of you Monday morning on the podcast. Appreciate it, guys.